All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the J Youngblood Experience. And I've been doing a lot of college football. I've been doing a lot of football in general. I think I've done 12 weeks of that so far, and I've been doing so much of that. I feel like I needed a different episode, especially for all my people out there who don't listen to football, don't watch football. Just getting into something different, and something that I was interested in over the weekend was a huge, monumental fight. And no, it was not Tyson versus Jake Paul. I know a lot of people want to hear about that. It was a shit fight. We'll get into it, but I wanted to get into the GOAT, the fight between John Jones and Stipe Miocic. Now, the reason this fight is so big is because you have Stipe Miocic, who is the one of the greatest, if not the greatest heavyweight of all time, who's ever been in the heavyweight discussion, and that's the Brock Lesnar's, that's the Alistair Overeems, that's the Cyril Gang, that's everybody. Mark Hunt is a big one, and what's his name? Shit. Give me 1 second. Daniel Cormier, Randy Couture, Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, Mark Coleman, like I said, Alistair Overeem, Frank Mir, who, Brock Lesnar won the belt from. But we got to get into the John Jones and Stipe Miocic, and I want to get into that fight. But we also had another big fight on that same card, and that was Michael Chandler, who had waited for Conor McGregor for about 2.5, 3 years to get right and get in, get back into the UFC. Obviously, that didn't happen, so he fought, obviously, Charles Oliveira. Now, Charles Oliveira is a nasty motherfucker. He really is. He's a nasty dude. Dude is good at what he does. He started off, whenever he was fighting, he didn't start off good, but as he is like him and Dustin Poirier, once they started getting older, they started getting better. They started getting better as they got older, which is crazy. You don't see that often in the UFC. I mean, if you remember, Chuck Liddell, as he got older, he lost his chin. It was made of glass at one point, and he'd just get knocked out by everybody. But this fight with the distance, I watched it. I was actually downtown Athens watching this fight with some of the other games, Georgia games, some other games that were on, and it was a very entertaining fight. But I thought Charles Oliveira did win. I thought he was going to get him a couple times with a guillotine or a armbar. But in this instance, it did go the distance. It did go the distance among the two fighters. And it was a great fight. It really was a good fight. We had a lot of different things happen. Like I said, Michael Chandler almost got into a guillotine and an armbar multiple times. But it really, really was a really good fight. I enjoyed watching it and being a part of that. Obviously, we waited on that McGregor-Chandler fight for forever, and it never came, never happened. I don't know if Conor will fight again. The way it's looking, he wants to, from what I've seen and what I've heard him say. But at the same time, I don't know if it will actually happen. I don't know if it'll actually happen. We would all love to see it happen, I'm sure. I would, at least. But a lot of people don't believe that it will happen, and hopefully it will. I don't know who he would fight. I don't see Dana giving him a title fight just yet. I don't see that happening. Especially not with taking the hiatus he's taken. But yeah, Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira, great fight. Please rewatch that if you haven't seen it yet. It was an amazing fight. A lot of action, a lot of wrestling, a lot of stand up too. And Charles Oliveira does got them hands on him. He really does. He has those hands on him for sure. But let's get into the fight that I was mostly excited about. And the fight where I wish I would have bought. I had to watch it illegally, unfortunately, through TikTok and Twitter. But I still got to watch it, even though it went out a couple times here and there. But it was a good fight. Such a good fight. Jon Jones is so good, bro. Jon Jones is so good. Even at, I think, 37, 38 years old now. He's been fighting in the UFC, I think, since he was 19 or 20. Bro has been killing everybody. 28-0 overall. Obviously has the one no contest. I want to say it was because of the illegal elbow. But he's 28-0. He's 28-0. And he has more arrests than Khabib Nurmagomedov has total defenses of his title. People talk about Khabib being the GOAT all the time. In my opinion, GSP is better than Khabib. I think GSP is simply better. And he fought for the title and defended his title more so than Khabib did. And if you look at the fighters Khabib did fight, he didn't fight good fighters besides Conor McGregor and maybe Dustin Poirier until they're on the back end of the career, or they really weren't known fighters. Khabib didn't fight people that were good all up until Conor and Dustin Poirier. That's it. His resume isn't that good. Like I said, Jon Jones has been arrested more times than Khabib has fought for the title or defended the title. So I wouldn't put Khabib up there as top 5. I just wouldn't do it. Technically, he's not even the best in his weight class. Like I said, GSP was better. I think Mighty Mouse is better. It just depends, I guess, who you ask. But Jon Jones came out, obviously up weight. Usually fights at light heavyweight. Came up, fought Cyril Gane. Beat Cyril Gane within the first round. Rear naked choke. Or not rear naked choke. He had him in the, I don't remember what the position was called. But won the belt immediately. Comes in, fights one of the, if not the greatest heavyweight of all time. And puts up a show. Puts up a show. 81% total strikes. He was 104 to 128. Stipe Miocic was only 42 of 94. Significant strikes by Jon Jones. 80% again. 96 of 120. And Stipe was 37 of 89. Jon Jones was 100% on his takedowns. Stipe didn't attempt any. But the biggest thing was going to be the knockout, the technical knockout. And I'm looking up that video once again. And Jon Jones, what he did a spinning back kick. And fucking took Stipe Miocic's ribs out of this world. Kicked him so hard, buddy felt it. Probably broke or busted one of his ribs. Had to have. If you would have saw this kick, Brody, it was insane. It was insane. My ribs hurt for Stipe. I'm trying to pull up the highlights now. But Jon Jones just put on a masterclass against this boy. Like I said, he's considered the best heavyweight champion of all time. Jon Jones, I'm waiting for the spinning back kick. Spinning back kick to the ribs. Stipe fell to the ground, and it was over from there. Ground and pound by Jon Jones to win and defend his belt. And was it a masterclass? It was an absolute masterclass by Jon Jones. And we're looking at either a Alex Pereira fight or a Tom Aspinall fight for his next fight. I would rather see the Alex Pereira fight because they're more of the same size. And Jon Jones could be at heavyweight or light heavyweight, doesn't matter, whichever works for Alex Pereira. For Tom Aspinall, I mean, this guy is young, he's ruthless, and if I was Jon Jones, I wouldn't want to fight him on the back end of my career either. Dude's massive. He walks around a bigger weight. I think he walks around at like 250 to 275. Jon Jones walks around about 230, 245, 250. It just doesn't make sense for Jon Jones. The money fight will be the Alex Pereira fight. For sure, 100% will be the Alex Pereira fight, will be the money fight. And if they can get Alex Pereira, Jon Jones versus, and then have Conor McGregor on the co-main or the main, that would be the biggest fight card ever when it comes to UFC. The biggest fight card ever when it comes to the UFC. You'll have two GOATs, Jon Jones and Conor McGregor, two of the greatest to ever do it, on the same card. It would sell multi-million PPVs, pay-per-views, and it would do amazing things, for sure. But Jon Jones in this fight put on a masterclass against somebody who is the greatest heavyweight of all time. Is that a liver shot too? Where is the liver located on the body? Ooh. Nah, I hit him on the side of the spleen. Okay. But anyways, kicked him in the ribs, put that boy on his back, put him on his stomach, and ended that fight in the third round. Jon Jones, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And if some of you who haven't watched UFC, this is going to be the 5 fighters you need to look up and watch before you even start watching fights. This is going to be Jon Jones, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, Conor McGregor, and Ronda Rousey. Watch those fights and then hop into watching some of these fights that are coming up. Those are some of the greatest fighters, the most entertaining. I didn't put technically the greatest in there. The most entertaining fighters of all time. Those 5 will be your favorite. You could also throw in Nate Diaz or Nick Diaz. Also, Quentin Rampage Jackson. You could do any of those. But those 5 is who you definitely should start off with. They're some of the greatest fighters to enter the UFC, and also some of the most entertaining fighters. So kind of a both kind of thing where you can look up and enjoy the fight, especially with GSP. He's very technical, but he did have a lot of beef in the UFC. Same with Anderson Silva, very technical. Also played people's hearts. He would just laugh in front of them, do dances in front of them while they're exchanging blows. It was insane. And Jon Jones, if you're looking for someone technical, controversial, and someone who puts up good fights, Jon Jones is probably one of the greatest. Just some of the things you'll see him do, like especially against someone like DC, who's a masterclass in the light heavyweight and the heavyweight division. He couldn't beat Jon Jones. Jon Jones had his number every time they fought. And then Quentin Rampage Jackson, obviously, because he's one of the greatest and the most entertaining. Just watch the fights. You'll see some amazing knockouts, some amazing submissions. Jon Jones even had somebody, I think it was Lyoto Machida, and had him sleep in his arms, put him to sleep, and then dropped him on his head. Some of the greatest fighting you will ever see or even witness will be those fights right there. Or those fighters. Those are some of the greatest fighters of all time. Most entertaining, by far. And people argue, and they can argue with a wall or whatever, but those are some of the greatest fighters of all time and some of the most entertaining fighters of all time. For sure. Absolutely. One of the, if not the greatest, Jon Jones. And I really do hope Jon Jones faces Alex Pereira next. I just think that's a more entertaining fight. I mean, I like Tom Aspinall, but I just think the money fight, the most entertaining fight, will be Alex Pereira and Jon Jones. I just think that'll be better for the box office. And it's more for legacy as well. You have someone in Alex Pereira who is taken over the light heavyweight or the lightweight and the light heavyweight divisions. Excuse me. And you know, he's one of the most entertaining fighters and one of the greatest fighters to ever be graced in the UFC. And you have Jon Jones, the greatest fighter ever. Tom Aspinall doesn't have a lot under his belt yet. He hasn't done much. He hasn't done much at all. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there should definitely be the Alex Pereira Piera versus Jon Jones. It just makes more sense, legacy-wise, as well as numbers and legacy. I mean, it'll just be a better fight all around. I think it'll be very entertaining, to say the least. More so than the Tom Aspinall fight. I don't see that being a big draw, big grab. I just don't see it happening, and I'd rather see the Alex Pereira fight and put them with Conor McGregor on the card, and you'll do so many numbers. So many numbers. It won't even make sense. It'll break every record available. Now, this Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight, let me just say this. This is in fact, and was in fact, a gimmick fight. Mike Tyson is 58 years old. Jake Paul is 27 years old. In what world, in what day, in what time of the month would a 27-year-old, even if it is Mike Tyson, even if it is Mike Tyson, it doesn't make any sense. Mike Tyson is 58. Jake Paul is 27. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And Mike Tyson, months back, had 8 blood transfusions and almost died in the hospital. And all of a sudden, he's going to now fight Jake Paul, who is 27, 30 years his senior. And you're going to fight a 58, almost 60-year-old man? I don't care if it's Mike Tyson. I don't care who it is. It's like Michael Jordan going out at the age he is. I think he's in his 60s now. Going out at the age he is and trying to beat Ja Morant or Kyrie Irving or Anthony Edwards. This was the dumbest fight, the most gimmick fight I have ever seen. Without a doubt. 100%. The real winners of this fight were people who didn't watch it. The fight could have been delivered via email. I didn't even pay, and I wanted my money back. It's almost like they agreed to do a friendly boxing match just to do and make a lot of money. They picked up and pulled off the biggest heist in all of boxing history. I called my dad after the fight, and I said, "Dad, You saw who lost? He said, yes, son. We all did. We all lost that. We could have just watched the highlights the next morning and got the same effect. Because the Mike Tyson slap that happened at the weigh-ins was the most exciting part of this fight, and it wasn't even a part of the fight. I could see Jake Paul calling out Joe Biden next and just fighting Joe Biden. Speaking of which, at the Jon Jones fight, guess who was there? Donald Trump. Donald Trump was at the fight for Jon Jones. He was at the fight for Jon Jones. And Jon Jones, after he won, did Donald Trump's little dance. Whatever that is, old man dance, whatever, I don't know what you want to call it. And gave Donald Trump the belt. You know, a lot of people going automatically not like Jon Jones. Or they're going to say, you know, that's stupid. Why would you do that? This and this and that. This is what I'm going to say. No matter how you feel about Donald Trump, he is now the president of the United States. He is now going to be the president of the United States in January. And the last thing you should do is want this man, no matter how you feel about Donald Trump, last thing you should do is to want this man to lose, do bad, or anything like that while he is president. And why? Well, because anything he does bad, right? Anything he does bad completely reflects on us as a people and affects us 100%. So you should want this man to succeed and not the opposite, because that is just simply saying you hate this country and you want to do bad. And you want to do bad. If you didn't like the outcome of the election, right? And every time you see this man, you feel some sort of hate, some sort of animosity towards this man. That's fine. But remember 4 years ago, because I remember I didn't vote in 4 years ago election. Remember 4 years ago, when Joe Biden was elected president, everybody said on the left that you should support this president. You should hope he does well, because if he does well, we do well. So at the same time, 4 years later, we're going into 2025 with Donald Trump, the president-elect. You should want the same thing. I don't agree with everything the man says. I don't. I don't agree with everything the man has done. I don't even think as a person he is a good person. But me as a citizen of the United States, me of a tax-paying citizen, me as a working-class citizen, me as a person who likes to pay his bills on time, who likes to not only pay his bills, but also live in a country where I can live and do extra and not just work every day, wants this man to do good solely because that will help us out as a country and we will be able to do more and do better. And I hope this man, under God's holy green earth, that he does well. That way we can get to a better place in time in the United States of America. And like I said, I don't agree with everything this man says. I don't agree with everything this man does. I don't even think I would like the man personally if I met him. But I hope and pray he does well, solely so people in my family and myself will do well in the coming years. And will be able to do more than just go to work. They'll be able to afford the groceries they want. They will be able to afford the trips they want. They'll be able to afford the extras. So they will be able to afford to travel. Be able to afford to go places they haven't gone before. People in this country, I hope you're able to afford that wedding. I hope you're able to afford private school for your child. I hope you're able to afford that new car. I hope you're able to afford that new house. And I hope you're able to afford your groceries. And the best way for that to happen is for this man and Donald Trump to do good this presidency. And hopefully he does well. Hopefully he listens to the American people and what they want. Hopefully he does good things for this country. And hopefully he has the right state of mind at the age he is to get things done and make the right decisions. Because we do need that as a country. And I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, talking about UFC, talking about fighting, talking about boxing. But I truly hope this man does well, and I didn't speak on it whenever it happened, solely because I wanted it to sit in with some folks. I wanted it to happen with some folks to where they understood what happened and no longer in a weird mood or a happy mood. You're over an exasperated mood, whatever it may be. I just want to speak on the fact that I hope this man does well. We did see him at UFC 309, was it? I think 309, I believe. And so I wanted to mention that, especially talking about Jon Jones, because he gave him the belt, and he did the little Donald Trump dance, the old man dance, I call it. But hopefully this man does well and does good things with America and gets us back in a better place. That way we can afford to live, afford to be a part of something bigger than us. For sure. Hope we can afford to do better in this country. And like we learned during COVID, those few years we had, there are a lot of ignorant, dumb, stupid, retarded people out there. And yes, I still use the word retarded. Yes, I do. I use the word retarded. It's not a derogatory term towards mentally disabled people. It is simply a word used to describe how dumb people can be. And like we learned, again, COVID, in this election cycle, is that there are so many ignorant people, ignorant fucks out there who use politics as a way to shame people. And I think it's absolutely disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. Because I'm not going to base who you are as a person off a popular vote of an elected candidate. You only have two options. There are 300 million, 400 million people in America, and there's two options. And you think that's how I'm going to judge you by? That's who I'm going to look at you as? No, because people vote on many different speculations and options. People vote maybe on the economy. Who do they think the economy is going to be better with? Or is their money going to go further than it has in years past? Is it going to be better under this person, just dependent on this person and that? That's how people vote. It's not based on one thing, one metric. There's so many things that people vote for. And whoever you voted for, I respect your decision because you're doing that based on your moral compass and your boundaries as a person. And you're going to do it based on what you think is most important, not what I think is most important. And that's why I don't judge people based on who they vote for. And it will not affect me and you in our relationship. It won't. I'm going to treat you as a human being, and I want you to treat me with the same respect. My opinion is you have your rights, I have mine, and as long as you don't infringe upon my rights, then we can live in peace and sovereignty and be one and be together as the human race. But anyways, sorry to get off on a tangent. Sorry to be that guy. But I just had to say that. Anyways, getting back to the Jake and Tyson fight, like I said, it was the undercards were so much better than this weak ass fight we had witnessed with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Like I said, Mike Tyson is 58 years old and Jake Paul is 27. and I'm watching this fight as I talk. Mike Tyson is 58 years old, and Jake Paul is indeed 27. Father Time is never, ever lost. Mike Tyson is almost 60 years old, and this is not a fight that should have happened. Jake Paul needs to fight someone who's an actual fighter. If this man was to fight Terrence Crawford, it would be a loss. If this man would have fought Canelo Alvarez, who is one of the best and most prolific defensive fighters of all time with his combos, as well as his, I forgot the word. Whatever. He is one of the best defensive fighters ever. Fight someone who is good. Fight someone who is current. Fight someone who is of age. And we saw what happened when Jake Paul actually fought a real fighter in Tommy Fury. He lost, and Tommy Fury, I don't even believe, is a top 20 fighter. His rank is, I can tell you real quick, he's ranked 39th. 39th in WBC. So Jake Paul couldn't even beat the 39th ranked in the WBC cruiserweight division. And yet he thinks he can fight other people and be better than them. That's why he keeps doing these gimmick fights. Hashtag Anderson Silva. Hashtag Mike Perry. Hashtag Tyron Woodley. This dude is not that great of a fighter. And if you don't know that, then you just simply don't know boxing. You don't know fighting. Jake Paul he's a great businessman. Let me say that. He's done great promoting these fights and getting these fights where the pay-per-view is super high. Let me see how many views he had during this fight. Netflix drew 108 million viewers worldwide. According to Netflix, that makes it the most streamed global sport event ever. So 108 million viewers across the globe. So that's worldwide. Apparently, that's one of the biggest streamed global, the most streamed global sporting event ever. But there's an asterisk, because if you think about it, Netflix total streamers, and I'm looking this up as I speak, total subscribers is an estimated 282 million. 282 million. These people that are paying per month, they don't pay per view. So that's why this fight is going to be bigger, because it's easier to watch. When you go to UFC, when you go to boxing, you have to pay per view, and it's usually anywhere from $60 to $100. And that's all the undercards as well as the main event. But with Netflix, you've already paid for it already, and this is in monthly revenue. This is $7 a day, a month, or however much it is. So of course it's going to be easy to watch. 1.8 million. If UFC got with Netflix and did a number on that, they could probably get double that. They could probably get double that. It's just easier to watch in that instance on Netflix than it is watching pay-per-view. It's just a lot easier watching that than it is pay-per-view. It just makes more sense. It's going to be, when something's easier to get, people are going to get it more than if it was otherwise, and you had to pay more money for it. Guaranteed, even if they did a pay-per-view of like $20, it would have less viewers, because that's just how it works. UFC doesn't have a streaming service like that. They have Netflix or ESPN Plus, then you still have to pay for the pay-per-view. So that'd be the same thing as if they had to pay for the pay-per-view on Netflix. It's just, obviously those can be inflated. Obviously, you went on Netflix. People already have a monthly subscription for Netflix, and they're using this as a way to say they're the biggest. Yeah, it's the biggest, but there's an asterisk beside it because of the fact so many people are on Netflix and they don't have to pay per view. They pay per month. They don't have to. They don't have to pay to watch what you're doing. They just sign in, click your face, and they're in there. So I'm not surprised by the number, and I don't think really anybody should. I mean, it's Mike Tyson. That's who really people came to watch. They didn't come to watch Jake Paul. If you heard the roar when Mike Tyson walked out, as well as when they showed him on the Jumbotron, you would see, in fact, that it was because it was Mike Tyson, not because it was Jake Paul. Mike Tyson came out by himself. The dude is still built at 58 years old. Dude is chiseled. How many 58-year-olds know that they're in the shape that Mike Tyson is in? Especially with all the drugs and cocaine he's done. Shout out to Mike Tyson. My guy is still in shape. Somehow he is still in shape. I hope whenever I'm closing in on my 60s that I also can be in the same shape that Mike Tyson is in. For sure. If I can look like that at 58 years old, God bless me, I will go out and fight too. And he didn't look terrible. If he fought somebody his age, he would fuck him up. But he's fighting a 27-year-old. Obviously, he's going to be gassed after a while. And this wasn't really even a real fight. They were using, I think, 16-ounce gloves and only fighting 2-minute rounds, was it? It was 8 rounds. And 2-minute rounds. So 2-minute, 8 rounds. Or 8 2-minute rounds, I'm sorry. And using 16-ounce gloves. I believe. Let me double check. I believe those are sparring gloves. So no one uses those to actually fight. No, 14 ounces instead of 10 ounces, which I believe are sparring gloves and sparring sizes. Sparring gloves. I believe those are sparring gloves. I think most people use 10 ounce, or most boxing matches use 10 ounce. So yeah, it wasn't really a real fight. Even though it's going to be showed as a real fight, it doesn't make sense to me. If they put that on Mike Tyson's record, I think that's dumb as shit. I think it's dumb as fuck, and it makes 0 sense. It makes 0 sense why they would put that type of fight on the actual record. It just doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. At all. And I'm hoping to see some better stuff. Like I said, the UFC has it right. They know how to put the cards together. But when it comes to Jake Paul, he's not putting real fights together. None of these fights have been like real. Give me 1 second. Goddamn. Sorry, one of my lights went out. Yeah, it's disgusting. It's not a real fight. It's fake. Not something I would want to watch, and I did watch it, unfortunately, and stayed up late for it. But it's not a real fight. It's not. Sorry to everybody that likes Jake Paul and thinks Jake Paul is the best. Simply not a real fight. But I appreciate everybody being around today. We have some big things coming up, some big guests coming up. We're gonna have Chef Lionel from Liver King on next week, next Monday. That's going to be a big one, and hopefully we can get in some good questions to him, maybe even get the Liver King on the podcast. And hopefully we can get into that and talk a little to him about many things. I have so many questions, not only for his chef, but also him in general, and the way he came up, the way he got how he was. So I'm very excited about that. We have some of my friends coming on from Augusta, talk about a little childhood stuff, just what they're doing now. And we have some big guests, so stay tuned, stay ready. Thank you again for watching the Jay Youngblood Experience. And this has been episode 63. Yeah, I don't know if any of y'all know this, but we're closing in on a year of the Jay Youngblood Experience. In February, we will be at 1 year total. We're closing in on that. And I want to thank everybody who's been listening, being a part of this, subscribing, and hopefully I can do bigger and better things every episode. Thank y'all for listening.